Hello and welcome to another episode of Track Shorts. I hope everyone had a good week and enjoyed the weekend of athletics, national cross country and the UK Indoor Championships. Now, this week we're going to be providing some top tips for any parents of young athletes. Now, obviously I have had quite a lot of experience of coaching athletes from the age of 9 up to kind of 30s, and I've seen a few athletes through from the age of 9 or 10 through to their senior ages when they were 22, 23 and went on to national and international success both in athletics and in other sports. So with that experience, obviously I've seen the good and the bad side of parents. Luckily, majority of my parents that I've had the pleasure of coaching their athletes have been brilliant. They've been supportive of both myself and the athletes. Which is obviously the most important thing. So these tips are for any parents that are currently having a child in the sport, or their child might be thinking about starting in athletics or track and field. But the tips I'm going to give you today might help in other sports as well. Now, the first tip number one, is athletics is a late developing sport, which means athletes will not reach their peak and their full potential till their early to mid 20s. Now, sometimes it could be even later than that in endurance events. So that's the first kind of little bit of background to our sport. We are a late developing sport. So we need to think about that when your child starts training and competing in athletics. So just to give you a little bit of an analogy. If, for example, I've got a 5-year-old and I start coaching them tomorrow, and then by the time they reach 20, it'd be very, very unlikely that that young person is still in the sport, because having spent 15 years training since the age of 5, I'm pretty sure that they would have given up. Not because, of any particular reason, but I can give you a few examples of why they probably have given up. Firstly, they're probably bored. Okay, to be doing one sport for 15 years is quite intense, and obviously after that long, I think I would probably get pretty bored of doing it. They probably got burnt out. So if they're training really, really hard and quite a lot, then they would have probably got burnt out. They might have reached their peak and then they're on the decline. And obviously, if you start to lose motivation or you get despondent with how you're performing, then obviously you're going to give up. They could even lose love of the sport. They might not have ever fallen in love with the sport, but because a parent has asked them to do it or thought that it's best for their child to do it, then they might not have loved the sport. And if they did, after being in the sport for so long, again, they might have lost the love of the sport. You hear sports people saying, yeah, I've lost the love for football or for athletics or for running or jumping or throwing. So as for 15 years, that's a long time to be in one sport. So just think about that. If you're thinking about, a 4 or 5-year-old starting in athletics, just think about how long you want them to be in the sport. If you only want them to be in there for a little while and they're going to go off and do something else, that's cool. But just think about it. If they really want to go places in athletics, then maybe just have a think about that amount of time that they're spending in the sport, because you really don't want them to be like in that sport for so long, and potentially if they're not enjoying it. Now, the next tip number 2, follows on from what I've just said. So instead of getting your 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old involved in athletics straight away and that's all they do, give your child as much opportunity as possible in different sports. So don't just focus on one sport or one event. If you're just looking at athletics, get them to experience all the events and all the sports that they can. Okay, because one, it'll provide a little bit of variety in their life in sport, but also it will help develop their range of skills. So if, for example, you just get someone to run, okay, they're not developing the skills that they need to be an all-round athlete. So, as a top athlete, you need to be able to run, you need to be able to jump, you need to be able to throw, okay, because all of them things will help you develop all-round. So if you can throw a medicine ball then you're building your strength. If you can jump high or you can jump far, okay, you're going to build your strength. So it's not just about one activity, it's trying a range of different. Plus, if you try a range of different events and different sports, then you're more likely to find one that you love. Okay, if you just go into running, or you just go into jumping, or you just go into football, okay, and you don't try anything else, you might never know that you're really good or you really love doing another event. So you might really love doing hammer throw or race walking or steeplechase or hurdles or playing another sport like hockey or basketball or anything else that you've not tried. Okay, give your child an opportunity to try them activities and events, and I'm pretty sure if they've tried a lot of events, they will find one that they naturally enjoy and they naturally love. And if you've got a passion for it and you like it, you're more likely to do well at it. So give them as much opportunity to try different events and different sports, because if you haven't tried it, you'll never know. Okay, and I'm sure there's plenty of examples out there of people that have tried events that never thought they would do, and they found they've loved it and they've actually gone on to do really, really well in it. Okay, so think about what your child is going to do, not just in one sport, but in a range of sports or activities. Okay, tip number three, be a positive role model to your child. Okay, because your child will look up to you throughout their life, okay, especially during childhood. So please be respectful of your child. Okay, speak to them like a person. Don't lay into them or have a go at them. Talk to them, have a bit of conversation. Okay, but also respect their coach. Okay, they're the person that's got the knowledge and the experience. So respect their coach and show them that you do respect their coach, because then they will respect their coach. Respect the officials. In athletics, we rely on officials to make our events happen. Without the officials that give up their Saturdays, Sundays and weekday nights to officiate events, we would not have athletics as it is now. Okay, so please respect the officials at the events. Okay, they're only doing their job, and everyone's human. If they make a small mistake, okay, don't start shouting and swearing at them. Do it the proper way. Just respect their judgment. And if you've got a real issue, go to the field referee or the track referee or the meeting manager and speak to them with your concerns. But please don't lay into the officials, because our sport relies on them, and if we don't have them, it just won't happen. Okay, be respectful of other athletes, other young athletes. Okay, yes, you want to support your athlete, or your child, but be respectful of others. Okay, make sure you're polite and you're nice to other athletes, and don't diss them in front of your child. Okay, you can't control what another athlete does. Okay, you can't control what another athlete standards are or competes at, or their level of performance. Okay, you can only control to a certain extent your child. So please respect other athletes and other young people. And then finally, just respect other parents. Okay, get on with them. You can make really good friends. Like, just respect each other, because we're all in this for the same thing. We all want our children to be the best that they can be. Okay, and by being disrespectful to everyone that I've talked about, obviously doesn't help, and it doesn't set a good tone with your child. Okay, now number 4. Okay, we're 9 minutes in. I'm on number 4. We're not too far off the end, but my coaching ethos, as I talked about in the first episode, and my biggest one, is to make sure that the sport is fun. Whatever sport they're in, make sure it's fun and enjoyable. Not only for your child, but for yourself. Okay, there's no point in going along to an athletics competition or a football match and you don't enjoy it, and definitely not if your child doesn't enjoy it. Okay, so just think, have a chat with them, make sure they are enjoying it, and if they're not, find out why. And then obviously you need to respect that if they don't want to continue in the sport, then you've got to respect that decision, and it will happen. Okay, many athletes do drop out of the sport at certain ages, especially between the ages of 15 and 20, because obviously they find other activities and other parts of their life. So, yeah, please make sure that your child and yourselves enjoy the sport that they're in. Okay, next tip, and I'm really trying to keep this as short as possible, but it is quite a good little topic to talk about. Okay, so keep things in perspective. All right, when you've got a young athlete, or a footballer or a basketball player, okay, just keep everything into perspective. They are a child. Don't think that they're a professional athlete, because they're not. Okay, they might be really talented. They might be as high up in the country as possible, but they are not a professional athlete. They are a child. They're a young person. So make sure you remember that, because they need to have other activities outside of sport to keep them entertained and to keep their mind and their life balanced. Because if everything's focused on one sport, okay, they're really going to struggle to hold that for a long time. Whereas if they've got their sport plus their friendships plus their school education, other activities, other hobbies that they can do, then that's really going to help keep them in the sport. Okay, and please, whatever you do, don't expect them to train like an adult. Okay, if you've got a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, okay, we wouldn't expect them to train the same as an Olympic standard athlete. Okay, so just think about that when you're asking them to go out for a 5k run or a 4k run, or go and do some training on the track. Okay, just think, they are children, and we've got to make sure that they enjoy what they're doing, but also that they have a childhood as well. Okay, so let's make sure they have lots of fun and learn lots of skills and different experiences throughout their kind of time in athletics, and hopefully it will be a long time. But just think about that as a parent. I'm a parent of a young boy who's 11, nearly 12. He plays football and he loves it. He absolutely loves it. All he does is talk about football, whether it's morning, day, night. He loves it. Eats, sleeps, talks it. And obviously, I have to keep into perspective that he's not going to make it as a Premier League footballer or even a professional or semi-professional footballer, but he's enjoying it. He's having fun, and he's got other activities outside of that that environment. But he does love it, and you've got to make sure they do enjoy it. Now, I'm nearly finished, so I'm just going to finish off with a couple little nuggets that maybe you'll take away with you. That someone said this to me. They said to me, Pete, no one remembers a good junior. Okay, so that always stuck in my head. Okay, no one ever remembers a good junior. I would say that is correct in some respects, but it's also incorrect, because I always remember the good juniors that never made it as a senior. There are so many athletes I can think of that used to run super quick times, British records, world junior records, age group records, and they never made it as a senior. So it's really important to remember that, and think about getting athletes from a young age and developing them at a nice steady progress so they come on and become good senior athletes. A prime example of someone that's done it really well is Dina Asher-Smith. She is with the same coach from when she was 9, 10, and she was such a good junior, but the way her coach has managed her program since she started has been phenomenal, and it's just a credit to John Blackie and the team that she's got around her to how well they've developed her, because she could have easily been one of them athletes that ran really quick, really young, but then never made it. But because of the team she's got, her mum, Julie, John Blackie and the team, they all did a great job, and she is doing great things, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how she comes on So she was obviously part of the sports hall athletics team when she was under 11 and under 13. And she's gone through all the age groups doing so well. And now she's kind of, she's won the world championships, and I'm sure she'll win more in the future. So that's it for today. I have to do a bit of editing because I had a bit of a coughing fit at the end of the first video, and had to refilm a bit of it. So if you've liked today's content, please give us a like, send us a comment, and if you can, subscribe to the channel. It'd be really nice to get a few more subscribers, and I'll be back with another video or episode next week. Take care, everyone. Have a good week.